Imagine a new kind of investing, a potentially life-changing way to invest that honors biblical principles, the kind of principles that you and I grew up with. Since 1994, Timothy Plan has made biblically responsible investing possible, offering mutual funds and ETFs that are filtered for biblical principles. Don't compromise your values. Invest with Timothy Plan. Ask your financial advisor or call Timothy Plan at 1-800-TIM-PLAN. Again, that's 1-800-846-7526 and discover what it means to be a biblically responsible investor. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risks, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at timothyplan.com. Read carefully before investing. Mutual funds distributed by Timothy Partners Ltd. and ETFs distributed by Foreside Fund Services LLC. As a paid testimonial, there is no guarantee of future performance and each experience will differ. Hey there, welcome to another edition of the MemoPod. It is great to see so many of you with us. It is also great how many of you were free subscribers and are today going to get the full thing because you have given us a shot and become a paid subscriber. Just $8 a month if you sign up, or you can pay $80 for the whole year currently. That's the going price right now. We've kept some of our special pricing in place, largely because I've forgotten to change it. Anyway, so you can still get in on that until I remember to change the cost. But okay, so all of that to say, those of you that are paying subscribers, you're supporting the ministry in that way. We're going to cover a lot of stuff today, and you're going to be privy to all of it. Those of you who are free subscribers, you're going to get in on this. I want to start with the Disney stuff that's happening with Disney. But later on, I don't know if you saw the clip of Donald Trump doing a town hall meeting, and he was asked the question how his faith has grown. It was a Christian lady. You could tell this is a Christian lady who had bought into what she had been told in 2016 and 2020, that Donald Trump was a baby Christian, which is the way Trump never referred to himself that way, but significant, popular, leading Christian figures had described him thusly, in an effort to convince evangelicals to vote for him. Not just evangelicals, Christians to vote for him. And so he was asked by someone who clearly believed that that's what he was at one point, a baby Christian. So how has your faith developed, baby Christian? And his answer, man, you got to hear it. And I'll share it with you, and then we'll talk a little bit about it and what it means, not even from a faith perspective, what it means from a political perspective and Trump's strategy in this primary. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then also, if I can get to it, I am convinced that there is no country on the face of the earth that hates itself like the United States. The self-loathing in this country, I believe, is unlike anything. You will find greater senses of pride, national pride, in places that have no reason to exhibit national pride. They're not landing on the moon. They're not, their crime rate is worse. I mean, it's just, but they will be proud of their country. And here, it's almost, there's a lot of people that are embarrassed to show any sort of pride or acknowledgement of the greatness of their country in the United States. Just very weird phenomenon. So I want to talk about that in the second half and kind of prove my point in all of that. That comes up on the flip side, on the other side of our break. But I want to start with this Disney stuff because the question that I think any sane person would have is, why are they doing what they're doing? I honestly believe that's got to be the question. This self-destructive cycle that Disney seems to be on. I mean, you can read all the stories about the box office disasters that they continue to have. And they're sinking all of this money into Disney Plus. Is that what it's called? Disney Plus, the streaming service. And it's losing subscribers left and right. And then the parks, several reports that they're as empty as they've ever been in the summer months. And a lot of people are attributing that to Disney's go woke strategy. And again, because the word woke is so overused, Disney has become synonymous with the LGBT movement. Okay, they have tied themselves inextricably with the LGBT movement and other woke philosophies as well the racial identitarian politics, all of that stuff. These, several of you know, Disney's doing all of these live action remakes of their old animated classics. They did it with The Little Mermaid, they did it with others. Did they have Beauty and the Beast? I think maybe. I don't know. I haven't watched any of them, but they've made them. And they're doing one now, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Okay? If you've seen into the images that come from this, it's made Disney a laughingstock. Because it's like the multi-ethnic diversity of the Seven Dwarfs is insane. Like they have tried to find anybody and everybody that isn't a little white dude. That's what they were out to accomplish. And it is so patently obvious that this is racial political correctness run amok that it's comical. And the lady that they have playing Snow White is not white. Because again, racial diversity is the most important thing in all of that. And frankly, I don't really care what they do with the cartoon, but some people do. But everybody is kind of asking the question, anybody that cares about this stuff culturally, why are they doing it? Because they see the disaster. Let me play this clip from an interview that you see with the star of the one that's playing Snow White, and then Gal Gadot is the evil queen. I can't think of, I don't know if I've got it written down here or not. The lady's name that's playing Snow White. I don't have it written down. I don't see it. Anyway, sorry, I don't have her name. I'm not trying to rip her off her notoriety for this, but I didn't write it down. But here's the interview that's being done with those two individuals. Just watch this and, well, be in amazement with me.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. And so it's just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in.
Snow White is running for president.
I'm launching my campaign. Yeah.
Okay, I've said before, and I'm going to say again, it's that kind of stuff that actually makes me a little worried for the future of our friends over at the Babylon Bee, the Christian satire site. I get a little concerned for their abilities to sustain a future when I'm watching that actually unfold on the news, because those are actual interviews. Those are real life people, real life interviews. They're serious interviews, and they're almost identical to a script that the Bee Boys and girls would write. I mean, it really is. That's what they would try to put together. The Bee is in their attempt to show the absurdity of progressives' obsession with wokeness and identity politics and all of that. They would write a script about Snow White who isn't white, and the seven multi-ethnic, multiracial little people. That's what they would do if they were trying to parody the insanity of the left. But now there is this sector of progressivism that is itself a parody of itself. You can't parody that. Which, since I write for Not the Bee, I guess that's kind of job security for us a little bit, even if it's bad for the Babylon Bee. I don't know. But anyway, so the $64 million question, why are they doing it? And here's why I think that that's a legitimate question. I don't care how strong your echo chamber is. Meaning, Disney, I'm sure, is very insular. The boardroom, the corporate room where Bob Iger is back in charge, and he's got all of the executives in there, and they're super proud of how many women they've hired and how many minorities they've hired into all of these positions. I know that they are all most likely on board with all of the wokeness and everything. They have an echo chamber. They all pat each other on the back for their extraordinary virtue. I truly believe that that's what's going on, okay? I'm not saying that it's not. But no matter how impenetrable, no matter how insular your echo chamber is, there's no way that at least someone on that board, in that boardroom, is aware of how all of this stuff is playing with the general population. I don't care how many yes men are in the ears. They know. They have to know. At least some of them, they have to know because they see the box office numbers because they have to talk about them. What are we going to do? They peruse social media, so they see what's trending. They know what's being laughed at and what's being discussed. They notice the dropping attendance in the parks. They have to because that's their job. So even if they want to convince themselves this is what they should be doing and they're great people for doing it, they know all this. There's somebody there, and I personally believe it's more than just a somebody that, in fact, I think it could even be a majority who have raised notice of all of this, that have pointed out the core demographic of this company, which is families. Maybe they've reached a tolerance tipping point where they have been told, and all of this stuff has been pushed on them, and the families are like, okay, we don't like it, but we're going to keep doing it. We don't like this, but we're still going to make memories with our family. We're going to go to the parks. We don't like this stuff, but we'll go and see the movies that aren't just a bunch of woke lectures. We'll still do that. We'll get Disney Plus and we'll watch some of the classics that are on there. We'll still do that. But now those families maybe have reached the tolerance tipping point where they're not going to tolerate it anymore and they're just going to say we have better options. And so that's what we're going to do. It's not that we're trying to boycott Disney. There's just nothing that Disney is putting out anymore that we want to associate with or we really find enjoyable. And even the parks. We don't want to go and have in every gift shop 50% of the material that's for sale, and I'm exaggerating, but 50% of the merchandise be from the Pride collection. We don't want to see that. That's not catering to us or our interests, and there are other places that will. But if they know this, which they have to know this, or they at least have to consider it, I come back to the original question. Why are they continuing? Why don't they course correct then? There is a conservative preacher, and I don't know him. His name is Michael Clary. And on Twitter, you get like the people that you're following. You can look at that column, or then you can get the ones over here that are recommended for you based on your likes and other people that you follow. It'll recommend based on its algorithm. And I'm pretty sure that that's how I came across this. Michael Clary offered what he considered his best guess as to why Disney was continuing down this path. I honestly believe after reading it, it's the most thorough and thoughtful and reasonable explanation I've heard to answer my question, why are they continuing to do it? And his answer was pretty simply, they can't help themselves. That's the issue. They can't. In fact, this is what he put. It is clear at this point that Disney has dug themselves a hole they can't get out of. They dug themselves the hole, likely knew they were digging it while they were digging it, but they didn't feel they had any other option, so they dug it, and now even if they want to get out of it, they're too far in. They can't. Clary references the video that I showed you and says, this young actress says, quote, "It is no longer 1937. Snow White's not going to be saved by the prince. She's not going to be dreaming about true love." And Clary points out, yeah, good, because 1937, those rubes back there, we know a lot better than they do, and we're better than them, and who needs a man to save them anymore? And really what girls hate, they hate the idea of falling in love. This isn't 1937. They don't want to fall in love. They don't have any desire to be a princess saved by a prince. That's just gross. That's stupid. They want to be the chairman of the board. That's what women want. That's what girls want today. And the actress says, she, Snow White, is dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be. Right, because that's what little girls dream about. They don't dream about true love's first kiss or true first love's kiss. I think I said it right the first time. No, they don't think about that. They think about, I would like to chair my own organization and my own meeting. I really would. I think that'd be great. It's the dream of every little girl. By the way, it may be the dream for some strange little girl that maybe has seen that modeled or thinks that'd be really cool. Great. But can we not play this game where we consider it somehow bad or outdated that a girl would want to be saved by a prince? That's a fun little story for them, but that's where Disney is in all of this. And here's what Clary writes. Referencing back to this interview with this actress and this nonsense that Snow White is becoming, Disney has to know this message won't sell. That's what I was saying. They have to know. But they can't turn back now. In some ways, they're still benefiting from the trust that they'd accumulated back when they cared about the audiences and they made decent films. But that time is running out. Disney Corp is beclowning itself, he writes, with this kind of propaganda. They're a joke. Their credibility with their target audience isn't any better than Bud Light. They're a progressive propaganda machine, and every family knows it. Which is what I was referencing earlier when I said maybe the tolerance tipping point. Every family knows it, and they're just, excuse me, they're just done with it. They don't want to have to deal with it. It's not... Maybe I shouldn't say they don't want to have to deal with it. It's just not worth it anymore. What they're getting from Disney is no longer worth it to put up with all the other stuff. That's what I mean by the tipping point. But Disney can't stop doing it. That's what Clary writes. They can't stop it. Their brand identity requires them to continue creating soulless garbage to stay in the good graces of the LGBTQ activists who are now running the show. And that's very true. Disney has ceded control of its organizational and operational operations. That's why you subscribe. That kind of articulation. They're operational operations. Anyway, by the way, I regret for those of you that aren't watching this episode, the little eyebrow raise that goes along with it and nod. That makes it all the better. But anyway, families, Clary writes, are not buying it. Disney was once associated with wholesome family entertainment, but now not so much. You can't continue to undermine the core values of your target audience and expect people to keep shelling out cash for it. What parents want to take their kids to a special day at the movies, shell out their hard-earned cash to sit in a theater, getting lectured at by a self-righteous, preachy screenplay that revels in undermining the values you're trying to instill in your children? Bingo. I'll tell you right now, because when we had, like on the streaming service, when the kids are watching some of the old Disney stuff, some of the old Disney shows, and they will do their Disney ads, or I'm watching a football game on television, or whatever it might be, and an ad comes on for one of the new Disney movies that they're making, like Elemental, I think is the most recent. I think they got a non-binary figure in that. And our youngest sees it, and Grayson sees it, and he's like, oh, we should see that movie. No way. No. I mean, he can say that, and I'm not going to look right at him and say, no, we're not going to that. But we're not going to go to that. I'm not going to pay money to then have to explain what in the world non-binary is. That's what I'm saying. It's the tipping point. It's not worth it anymore. It's an odd thing to try to request your target demographic that they continue supporting you against their best interest. As you war against their values, you want them to continue to fund you as you war against them. It's a hard sell. It really is. And if you're going to be successful in it, you at least have to give them some kind of a product that makes the trade-off worth it to them. And Disney has completely ceased doing that. The Disney worldview, Clary writes, is one that would deprive parents of grandchildren in the future because it tells little girls that the good life is to be girl bossing in some corporate boardroom, not falling in love, getting married, and building a loving family together. Yuck, that's 1937. That's patriarchy. But, and this is what I thought was maybe the best part of what Clary wrote, since Disney has run out of new ideas, they are cannibalizing the vault by modernizing the old, embarrassing film classics, all but ensuring they're going to erase whatever decent legacy they might have otherwise had. You see, that right there, I think, is the part that's kind of being downplayed right now, that may be the biggest part of this whole Disney self-destruction story. Clary thinks they're committing suicide and says the sooner the better. Okay, first of all, I wholeheartedly agree with Michael Clary that Disney has shot its credibility in the foot. I think there are people, and I may be one of those people, that still loves Disney's parks. We love the food, we love the rides, we like the overall experience. Although it's not for everybody, I understand that. But part of it is nostalgia for us, and part of it is the rooms are really nice. The hotels have kind of spoiled us on others. And other people say, no, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. The value, it's not worth it. And that's fine. But what I'm saying is, people may still love that stuff. They may still love the vault of Disney classics. My wife and I, the other day, watched it was like out in 1986. That's just crazy that how long ago that is now. But Flight of the Navigator, I don't know if you remember Flight of the Navigator or not, if that movie makes any sense to you whatsoever. Sarah Jessica Parker, the actress, was in it. She was super young at the time. I think she was the only big name actor or actress that was in it. But anyway, or she would go on and become a big name. But we watched that. It was great. Sometimes I'll turn on Blackbeard's Ghost, the old Dean Martin movie. It was great. Or not Dean Martin, Dean Jones. It was great. And so people still love that. And people, I think, still have good, fond memories of Walt's old nature programs. And they have an appreciation for what Walt Disney did. I mean, that is thoroughly American risk-taking to do what he did in building Disney World and all of that. But I'm telling you, even those people, and I lump myself in that category, that's why I can say this with authority, when they hear the name Disney these days, we are far more likely to think gay activism than we are Blackbeard's Ghost, or The Monkey's Uncle, or The Misadventures of Merlin Jones, or The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. I mean, all of this stuff from the classic years. I don't think about that. When I hear the name Disney now, I'm like, well, what is the latest gay stuff that they've been pushing? What is the latest LGBTQ? So what, again, even if you are a fan of that stuff, I'm not saying that as a pejorative. I'm saying that is what Disney has become associated with. So that's what they've chosen to do, and that's what their name is now associated with. And the point Clary is making, and this is the point that I would make out of that, is Disney has to know that that isn't sustainable. You can't sustain that. So in one sense, they are beholden to it, and they've turned their organization over to it, and that has become their identity. But at the same time, they have to know it's not sustainable. Yes, a large sector of young people today are embracing the social fad of alternative genders and alternative sexualities more than ever. But it is, even those numbers, as absurd as they are, it's nowhere near enough to sustain the multi-billion-dollar bottom line of a company like Disney. If the Disney name becomes solely identified and associated with gay identity politics, there is not enough of a base there to keep Disney afloat, not with a multi-billion-dollar bottom line. You can make Disney into a niche company that dutifully caters to the queer agenda. You can do that. And that seems to be the path that Disney is going down, whether they want to or not. But it's not a feasible long-term corporate strategy if you want to sustain Disney at the size that it is. That said, I want you to notice the dilemma here. The dilemma emerges in that the vocal and active core of the company's leadership, their employee base, we're talking from parks to movies, the entertainment stuff, it is disproportionately LGBT obsessed. It is. Like, if you go to the parks and you see the folks that work there, it is disproportionate to the regular population. Okay? And if you look at the Disney boardroom and look at activist donations and PACs and things like that are supported, it is tremendously disproportionate compared to the normal population of LGBT obsessed activism. It's celebrated in every park. It is merchandised in every gift shop. It is promoted in every company press release. It is featured in every company movie nowadays. And if that doesn't continue to happen, the people in charge think it needs to happen with increasing regularity. That we've only made the first steps. We need to keep pushing this. The High School Musical, the series. That's actually the name of one of their programs on Disney. They want more characters that are queer, that are questioning, that are all of this stuff. And if Disney as a corporation decided not to do that, well, that whole community that has become the bread and butter of the company now, they'll see that as an attack on their dignity. And there'll be boycotts, there'll be outrage. Clary is also right in that the creative genius of Disney has been stunted. It's not there anymore. They used to call them Imagineers in the parks, and there are still Imagineers and all of that. But innovation, which used to be the hallmark of Disney, it has given way to political considerations and activism. So get how this happens. On the one hand, they cannot come up with any new ideas that are going to appeal to their core demographic of families. They don't have the innovation, they don't have the creativity anymore. It's gone. So they're not coming up with ideas that are going to appeal to their core demographic. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, they abuse their old material, they run it back, but they ruin the one remaining shred of their legacy that does appeal to their core demographic with stuff like this Snow White. They do. Or, well, we got to have a black Ariel, or we've got to have an Hispanic Merida, or whatever the princess may be. They're going to run back all the old material because they can't come up with new ideas that appeal to anybody. So they run back the old stuff that people do like, but they ruin it with their political activism. Now, do I think Disney's actually going to die? That would probably be where I differ with Clary. I don't think Disney's going to die, per se. But I think there will be a breaking point at time. There has to be. Where something more substantial than simply changing CEOs from one woke crusader to another. I mean, you go from Bob Chapek to Bob Iger. Bob Chapek was Bob Iger's original hand-picked successor. They're two peas in a pod. Iger's just going to do it the same thing Chapek was doing, just with a smile, as far as activism goes. It's a superficial, it's a cosmetic change, and nothing changed with the company. And it's not going to. At least not until that breaking point is reached, and I don't think they're there yet. Your thoughts welcome on any of this stuff. You can send it my way. Peter@peterheck.com. That is Peter@peterheck.com. Would love to hear from you. Would also love it, for those of you that I have to leave behind now, the free subscribers, I would love it if you would click that little button in the email and give us a shot. You can see the rest of this as we talk about, does any country in the world hate itself like America does? Also, I've got this clip of Trump responding to questions about his own faith and his spiritual advisors and all of that. All of that comes up on the other side of the break for our paying subscribers. Those of you who are going to remain free, it was great to have you with us so far. Glad you're with us. And if you ever want to give us a shot, don't hesitate. And those of you that have given us a shot, that are paid subscribers, stick with me. We'll be right back.
The Memo with Peter Heck.
Please patronize and thank all the sponsors of the Heck podcast, including McGonigal's Buick GMC, Terrell's Auto Service, Norris Insurance, Stevens Machine, Creative Financial Center, Indiana Right to Life, Tri-Green Tractor, the Indiana Family Institute, Hartman Family Farms, Liberty Financial Group, the Wyman Group, and J. Watson Creations.